What's going on, guys? I made it. I finally moved. Different job, different location. I have finally freed myself of the abysmal cataclysm wasteland that is the West Coast and specifically the Seattle area. I could probably go on for a 2-hour rant of all the things wrong with that place and how much I've hated it. Spending the last 5 years of my life, frankly, in the last 2, I've been stuck there, just unable, with some stuff that happened at my previous job, to leave. And that's the one downside to being employed by the government, is there's a lot of great job securities that come with that. However, the caveat is if certain things happen to you, you're in a holding pattern that prevents you from going to other agencies or transferring, promoting, doing whatever until the issue with your current job is resolved. And unfortunately, that took over a year and a half. Almost 2. It was a little over, was it 19, 20 months is about what it took. And so I was just stuck applying for God knows how many jobs I was trying to look at, and then just kind of being not even turned down. It's just, you're just unable to take the job. Like, I was selected and attempted to be hired by several other agencies and stuff, but it's like, you got this thing going on, and and the government's kind of nice. Like, these guys will sit there and they'll hold that job for 6 months. And then if you're not able to, like, hey, we waited 6 months, you either start in 2 weeks or, that's it. And I will tell you, it is a horrible, I don't even know have the words for it, but it's a sucky feeling. It is definitely a sucky feeling to have several, I'd say about 3 dozen jobs in the last 2 years I applied for that I really wanted. And it was like, you're just unable to take them. And your only option at that point is to quit the government, and then hopefully you can get back in. It's doable. However, you take a massive pay cut, and depending on where you are in the GS pay scale, and I'm on the upper end of it. So doing that is such a huge, and I'm talking $30,000 to $50,000 pay cut, depending on the job and stuff, if I did that. And I don't know about you, but like, I'm not comfortable enough to take a $30,000 to $50,000 pay cut at 39 years old. I'm kind of midway through my life where I like to think I'm somewhat established, and I just can't take that kind of hit. If I would have been back in my 20s, that's the time, honestly, and I swapped a few jobs, and I departed the government for a bit till I got another government job a few months later. But I was so low enough on the pay scale, it was like a minimum, like, I don't even $5,000 difference. And in your 20s, like, that's the kind of pay cut and chance you can take. However, like, when you're midway through your career and looking more towards retirement than starting a new gig all of a sudden, that's kind of the decisions and the factors you have to weigh in. And it's definitely one of those things in retrospect. And again, I'm getting a little off topic, but talking to a lot of the younger guys in my previous jobs, and I say younger, like, if they're in their 20s, you're a younger guy to me, because I'm almost 40. But these younger dudes who are talking, we're in the same job and they're bitching how much they hate it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you guys need to stop then. Like, you're young enough that you have time to make the change. Take the little bit of a pay cut here, deal with the hardship now while it's minimal. Because as I said, when you get older and you're more established and you're further along in the pay grades, like, trying to start over and taking a huge pay cut like that, if you want to stay with the government, it's a horrible idea. And unless you have, I don't know, like some disability money or other incomes that can support you like that, it's just not a risk I would tell anybody to take, frankly. But finally, the dam broke and I made it. And I'd applied for a couple of jobs on the hook. And I chose the Cleveland area because the guy I interviewed with at the job I'm at now, it's just one of those feelings. Like, when you talk to a supervisor, when you talk to somebody, and this could be anywhere, just meeting a really cool person, and if you're in the sort of the same line of work or whatever, but you're like, man, I would love this guy sounds like the coolest boss ever. I would love to work for this guy. And that was the vibe I got from this dude from the start of the interview to after the interview, and I had 100 questions and you only have a certain amount of time. And he's like, hey man, here's my number. Just shoot me a text, call me sometime, and like we'll talk. And just over months, like the dude answered so many questions, off topic stuff, and just a personable guy to just talk about, like, cared about you as the individual and also the employee, but you know, he just gave a shit about me. And as any of you in the workforce, in the government, and who've worked for a long time, and now at this stage of my life, I've been employed longer than I've been unemployed from the totality of my life. And that means something. When you've had dozens of bosses, and especially in the government, man, depending on if you worked, and I can say now, I'm no longer federal law enforcement. I have left that behind. So if you've ever worked law enforcement to some degree, you know supervisors come and go, they change over, and it's a hard job. It's a hard lifestyle to live. There's a lot of stress and so many factors that just shit on your personal life. And I just decided my personal choice was, I decided, you know what, I will take the, not even a 1% difference in my Indel retirement. And that's really the only thing. I'm going to lose a little bit of retirement money at the end. But the way I see it is like, I would rather, because nobody's early retiring. That's one of the benefits. In case you didn't know, federal law enforcement officers have the option. If you do 20 years, kind of like military in a way. If you do 20 years of service, you can retire. Now you're gonna, if say you joined at 20 years old, you get to 40, you retire, you're not gonna get your full Social Security check. You're not gonna get all those benefits because in America, you have to wait till you're 55 or 60, whatever the age is now, I don't remember. But you don't get to see the fruits of those labors until way later. So from 40 years old till, 60, 55, whatever, like you're still 15 to 30 years away from getting all that money. So you're gonna have to get another job, and I've seen that. I know a lot of guys who retired early only to turn right the fuck around and they had to get another government job just because they had to keep adding to that retirement because they couldn't see those benefits. And you still, at 40 years old, you still have mortgages and family and kids to send to college and shit like that. So it's just the way I looked at it, and I still support my decision on that, where it's like, I'd rather work a little bit longer because I'm not retiring early. I'm not to the point in my life, I don't even have a house anymore. So it's like, I still need to buy a house and find my next place where I'm gonna set roots down. I'd rather work a few years longer in a job that I like without and I hate this term, but it makes sense now. I thought it was sort of a woke thing, but the work-life balance, as our influencers like to tell us, like that's a real thing now. And now that I'm older, I actually appreciate that. And I'm happily divorced with no kids. So I'm living the dream, honestly. Like I don't have any issues. So it's I only have myself my needs to worry about. But at the end of the day, it was just like, man, like I want to do 40 hours a week and that's fucking it. I don't want to work overtime. I don't want to have to be forced to work overtime. Granted, and it was great money. The previous job, double OT, was freaking banging. Great paychecks. But it's the cost. It's like, sure, I made more money, but I don't have the time to enjoy that money, or I'm so fucking tired. Like on my days off, if I'm not being called in to do overtime, I just want to sleep the hell in, and I've got to clean my uniforms and do all this shit. And it's like, yeah, I made, $5,000 on this paycheck. Jesus Christ, blood money. But I'm too freaking tired to do anything with this right now. And that sucks. And I know there's people out there who are like, well, you could just take all that money and put it in your savings and then, just take a good vacation. Sure, and you can, but unfortunately with law enforcement, you don't get to pick when you want your vacations at any willy-nilly. You have to, like right now, like October comes around and they're like, hey, cool, this is the next fiscal year. You need to bid on what vacation weeks you want to take. And if you're low in seniority, you're not getting Christmas, you're not getting the holidays off. You're gonna get fucking middle of the fall, summer, winter, you're getting those off weeks. And that's when so I have to plan my vacation months and months in advance. I don't know what's gonna be happening. I don't know if I'm gonna be sick, maybe something happens, surgery, like it so sucked having to plan your life a year in fucking advance. And I've had to do that for the last 15 years where you had to bid for your vacation times. And it's like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. Because there's times I love road trips. Like I've driven all my road trips, I hate flying. I would rather drive everywhere. So to me, it was just a simple thing of, you know, if I just get a hankering for it, I'm gonna fucking gas up the truck and I'm just gonna go somewhere. Google it, that's where I wanna go, where's the hotels nearby, and then I fucking drive. And that's it, that's how I plan my life. I don't wanna call it super spontaneous, but it kinda is. Like, hey, you know what, this weekend I wanna go do something. Like today's Monday, you know what, this weekend, I'm gonna drive 6 hours west, go to Chicago. Fuck around there I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll find a hotel, I've got money, let's go do it. Walk around the city, see what we can dig up. You know, that's how I live life. And unfortunately, my job and the career I chose for the last almost 2 decades was not conducive to that. And that definitely puts a strain, and I don't want to say like, it definitely affected, and like I said, I'm divorced, and that definitely affected my previous marriage, especially when you have another person's family to deal with and they don't understand why you can't work, you know, come on, why can't he never is here for Christmas or Thanksgiving or blah, blah, blah. I had to fucking work, man. And that's just, it's a lifestyle. And there's a lot of people who enjoy it, kudos, but there just comes to a point where like, and this sounds selfish as fuck and I don't care, but it's like, I'm tired of making the sacrifices. Like, cause that's what these government jobs do. They will take, and I think every job does that, honestly. I don't know why I'm bitching, my thing's not specific, but employers and companies and corporations, they will take everything they can from you just so you show up to be a cog in the wheel, and that's it. As long as you're there, they're you know, okay, cool, he showed up to work on the holiday, yay, the business can function and make them money, and that's all they care about. And there just comes to a point where you're like, fuck that nonsense. I'm almost 40 now. I've been the team player. I've been the guy that, you know, I came to work on the holidays. I want to be here so these other guys can go be with their families and stuff. And that felt good at the time. But then I sat there and looked at all the costs, like how, and I know this sounds kind of shitty, but it is true. It's like, I'm so out of touch with the rest of my family that, you know, I see all their lives and their kids and stuff on Facebook and social media posts versus I've never got to be there for these holidays. I've never got to be there for these family gatherings to see. I've got nieces and nephews and stuff now like that don't even fucking know me. And, you know, again, in my 20s and stuff, like I didn't really care. I was like, yeah, whatever. But, you know, now here it is now, that's a depressing thought to think that, yes, I have new generation of people in my family that have never met me. And I haven't met them, and I would love to be part of their lives and see my cousins and stuff like that again. And it's just like, yeah, I'm kind of over it. I'm tired of the government and the job taking from me so I can be the team player, you know, and there's nothing, you don't get anything back from that. There's no awards or promotions or whatever. It's like, hey, thanks for coming into work. Hope we can fuck you over the next holiday. And that's all it was. And I played that game. And it just came to the point where I'm like, you know what? And that was sort of my life goal. And I had a few of them, and I don't care, I don't mind sharing them, but I was like, you know, my whole thing was like, I want to be by 40 years old, which now again, I've got a few more months to hit that checkpoint, so I'm not going to hit all of it, but I was like, by 40, I thought I would have been remarried. I kind of had hoped to have a child or two running around and be in my own home again. You know, have a mortgage and have 4 walls to call my own and do what I want with. And that was sort of my life plan, be like, hey, at 40 years old, that's your midlife point, you know, hopefully. And, you know, I wasn't gonna be able to do that in the job that I was in. It just wasn't gonna fucking happen. And so that's when I was like, you know, the change has to happen. And it did. And I chose this job by Cleveland because, again, I've got a fantastic boss, and now that I've been there for a little over a week now, honestly, one of the coolest guys I've ever worked for. Like, he's top 3 for sure. I mean, granted, it's only been a week or whatever, but like, I have a feeling he's gonna be top dog because he's former law enforcement. He knows the deal. He's been in that lifestyle before too, and that's why he made that jump. So having a boss who has walked in your shoes, vice versa, that knows what you're coming from and knows all the shit you have been going through and knows the transition you're gonna make, like, and who's like, dude, I'm here to help you. Like, my job is to supervise and make sure you have the tools necessary to do your job. And then when you fuck up, I'll tell you what you did to fuck up and help you unfuck it. And then if you're doing your job, you're not going to hear from me. And that's what he promised me. And I'm like, that's really all I can ask from a boss is like, hey, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like I don't need to be micromanaged. You know, if I'm doing a good job, give me a pat on the back, give me more work to do. I'm happy with that. You know, if I do make mistakes, yeah, come be like, hey man, you know, you fucked this up. Here's what you did. Here's how to not do that again. Oh, okay, cool. And that's it. That's like all I freaking need. And every conversation I've had with this guy about expectations is exactly like that's what he wants. So you just get that feeling when you find somebody you know you're going to do well working for, I'm going to take that chance. And it was kind of a gamble because everybody asks like, why did you pick Cleveland? Like I don't know anybody here. I don't have any friends, family. Like my closest family's over near the Chicago Rockford area, 6 hours west. I think I've got some family in Baltimore. Again, I think that's like 6-ish hours east somewhere. You know, and that's it. But I don't have any local support or whatever. Like nobody had to help me move or do that kind of shit and paid my own way and did all that stuff myself and getting some movers and stuff, you know. And that part does kind of suck. But that thing when I told people is like, sometimes that's what you have to do in life. You know, you have to take the gamble. And yes, sometimes does it suck to have to pay money to move and buy all this furniture? And I mean, thankfully I have my game room set up now it's my loft above my living room kitchen area, and it's fucking sweet. This is everything I've kind of wanted in a place to rent. And honestly, if I could buy a house with this setup, it's awesome. More than enough space for me and little shitty kitty over here, and all my stuff fits. You know, I'm very happy. And then I'm 20 miles from my job, right next to an interstate with phenomenal travel, no tolls or anything crazy. And it's just, I picked a good choice, I made a good decision on a very good choice that was a gamble. Because I had other options that I could have gone to that were closer to family and people like that. And that's all well and good. But then again, I'm risking like, you know, that person I interviewed with, like, I don't know how they're going to be as a boss. Because again, when you interview with somebody and you ask any questions and then you try to have a personal conversation, there is kind of a back and forth. Like you can feel, again, if you've been doing it as long as I have, like you can get a feel for somebody very quickly if you know how to ask the right questions. And if you're not getting the feedback you're looking for, or it's that, I hate saying the word vibe, but that's it. If you're not getting the vibe you're looking for, So that's what I looked at. I found a guy that checked all my boxes and gave me the best vibe I've had in years. And I'm like, fuck it. I want to come work for that guy because he's from the area. He's not going anywhere. I could be working for him for the next probably 15 years. And I would be okay with that. And honestly, so that's enough about the job thing. Love my new job, very happy with it. Whoop-de-doo, I took a $5,000 pay cut coming from Seattle to here. But the crazy part, and now we're going to talk about the Cleveland and the living aspect, is $5,000 pay cut on paper. However, the cost of living here outweighs that. Like it's like I'm getting I think I did the math the other night on a spreadsheet. I was like, I'm getting a $13,000 raise, actually. Cost of gas is $1.50 a gallon cheaper on average. Freaking my car insurance, the insurance on my truck, literally 55% more than cut in half. Like overnight. As soon as I changed my address to this place, boom, just immediately cut in half. Renter's insurance, that blew my mind right there because I had to have 3 times the coverage on my renter's insurance for this place because it's a more bougie area. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta have $300,000 of coverage. Gee, and that's what I was like, that's fucking house coverage right there. And I'm like, damn, what's that gonna cost me? Half the price of what I was paying for $100,000 of coverage in the Seattle area. Like, again, it's still blowing my mind just how the cost of living difference in this area is just so much cheaper. And I could have been super stingy. Like I could have lived closer to the city or on the east side of Cleveland where apparently it's a little bit more hood rat shit, but it is far cheaper. I could have got a shitty apartment for $1,000 a month. And then been saving all kinds of money. But again, I'm at that point in my life where I'm all about the creature comforts and I like convenience. So I want to live in a nice area, no crime. I'm half a mile away from every store that I need to take care of everything in my life. Got a dentist, freaking chiropractor, car wash, gas. Like I have everything I need. And I think the closest hospital is like 5 miles away. So I'm like, all right, cool. Heart attack, 5-minute ambulance drive. I'll be fine. And that's the way I look at stuff. It's like, I need conveniences. Because I'm not a social butterfly. I don't give a fuck about bars, clubs, and the nightlife. And they're like, oh, what is there to do in Cleveland? I don't fucking know, and I don't care. Like I didn't move. I don't pick a place to live based on like, oh God, let's go. Like how many bars and places and, whatever. I don't give a shit about that. Do they have high-speed internet, good utilities, whatever, and how close am I to all the things that I need in my life? Like that's it. That's the simple factors. Oh yeah, that was the other crazy thing too. Internet out here. And that was I remember that. Like I have double the speed I had with Comcast for the same amount of money. Like $70 for gigabyte internet out here, and I was paying $75 for 500 gig. It's Comcast in Seattle. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's just, again, so many things are just cheaper that it's just like, man, like just the bill, my bills went so down. And it's nice. It's such an interesting area. Like I've known people from Ohio, so I already had kind of an idea of what Ohio is like. I like the politics, the gun laws, certain legislations and legal things that I kind of like pretty strong over here. And I'm all about that. So that was a huge factor in Ohio. And frankly, it's another place that, again, like right now we're kind of in the winter. Like we had 6 hours of snow the other night randomly. And you get 4 seasons out here, which I like. I don't mind snow. I don't want like Minnesota 5 feet of that shit or whatever, but I would like 4 seasons comfortable. And I have heat, good AC, gas furnace, whatever. That's weird. I've never had dual AC system before, but it's kind of nice having a gas furnace that cranks out hot air immediately, and we'll see how the AC works out in the summer. Man, what else? It's nice. Like the traffic. Oh my, I can't even try to think, how would I articulate the traffic difference from the Seattle area? And by Seattle area, I mean like 100 miles south of Seattle to about 50 miles north of it is just complete dog shit. There's I-5 goes up and down, and that's the only main interstate you have to go up, and that's it. A couple little highways that kind of skirt it every now and then, but I-5 is the only main road they've got, and it's horrible traffic all the fucking time. Your demographic of people who live in that area, who have come to the United States, who have failed to adapt to how society does things, and the vast majority cannot drive for shit. It's kind of a little shitty, it's sort of a racist game if you want to call it, but we used to have this joke, if you're driving around in the Seattle area and you see a sticker on the back of a car, it's like, oh, please be patient, student and driver, and you're like, wonder what kind of Asian they are, or like, where in the Middle East or India. And honest to God, that's the funny part, is like, it's 99.999. I think I was wrong one time ever. And it was like a handicapped lady with glasses. And it's like, oh shit, finally I was wrong on that. But that's just how it is. You have thousands of people who do not know how to drive in this country, and they live in the Seattle area, and they just, God forbid, as soon as it rains, everybody goes, the speed limit's 70, everybody can do, like they're all doing 45 on the freeway, lights and hazard lights on, whatever, and it's just like, it's Seattle, it rains all the time. You guys have lived here 10 years, how have you not figured out how to drive? And that's what it's just the shittiest traffic of any place I've ever lived in, bar none. It's just so freaking bad. And then you come over here and I'm like, oh shit, like these guys use turn signals. I mean, there's definitely some aggressive driving, like the speed limits are like 60, but people are doing 80, constant, like bumper to, like not even bumper to bumper, but it's very flowing traffic doing 80 miles an hour in the morning going into Cleveland, but people are zipping in and out of lanes, but they're using their turn signals. They're merging, they let people zipper in on the on-ramps, and I'm like, again, mind blown, because I haven't seen this in 5 years. And the crazy part is, like, that's just normal. It's not like these people are great drivers. This is just how people are supposed to drive in America. You're supposed to use your turn signals. You're supposed to, you know, if there's somebody on the side of the road with hazard lights on, you're supposed to move a lane over and give them some space. Like oncoming traffic, either go up really fast to make space or hit your brakes and let them get in front, like whatever. It's just certain rules that this is just common courtesy on the road that nobody in Seattle freaking utilizes. And this is just how people are here. And I have to tell myself that. It's like, no, these aren't good drivers. This is just, they're not stupid. So that's been a huge, beautiful thing that there's just, I've seen no traffic jams. If there is any kind of slow, oh, there maybe was a little wreck over here. And then again, just people, the slowdown is everybody's moving to another lane to give them space. And then as soon as the wreck is over, like boom, 80 miles flowing again. It's magical. It's freaking absolutely beautiful, and I'm in love with it. I haven't explored Cleveland proper too much yet. I've only been here a little over a week now. And frankly, the weather on the weekends has been absolutely windy and frigid to the point where, and truth be told, I don't have winter clothing because frankly, the winters in Seattle are just kind of more wet versus like frigid, windy cold. And Cleveland being, and where I live, I'm 5 miles south of Lake Erie. And Cleveland itself, it's interesting, it's like a wind tunnel where you get this lake effect or whatever. I can't remember all the weather terms that they call from having this giant lake right there, but Chicago has the same thing from what I hear, and it's just different. Like you don't, even though like Seattle, we're on the coast and there's the freaking ocean 2 miles that way, like they don't get that kind of weather like this. So my little hoodies and sweatpants were not cutting it. Like I have been miserable being outside the last couple weekends when I was driving around getting shit. And I'm over here like, I'm literally wearing like 3 t-shirts and my hoodie and I'm freezing to where it's like, man, I'm actually wearing gloves every time I go outside, a hoodie. And I was like, damn, this is a different kind of cold. And it is, that biting wind is what really sucks. So now I finally got some nice heavier duty jackets to withstand that. And I know I have a Cabela's down the street too, and I'm gonna have to hit them up for some like the weatherproof kind of stuff that can handle the rain and snow. And that's really it. You know, once you get the cold weather gear acquired, now it's like, okay, now I feel comfortable going into the city, parking, and then walking around for a few hours. Because now, like, okay, now I'm actually prepared for that kind of weather. And unfortunately, not this weekend. I'm gonna do some Thanksgiving shit with the family over in Chicago. But here in the next couple weekends, I'd like to be able to go into the city, you know, on like a Saturday morning and just walk around and see. Because again, I've had a few, looking at Google and crime maps and stuff, like I kind of know where I'm not supposed to be after dark or too early in the morning. And even just for me driving, from my commute to work, just looking around downtown Cleveland where the government and all the official buildings are, it's very clean. I've seen, I don't even know if they're homeless. It might have just been some freaking like emo kid. I couldn't tell. They were stumbling around with an e-bike thing. But I've seen like just 99% less riffraff than an average day in Seattle downtown. Like it's night and day. I can't even exaggerate this anymore. It's night and day difference. And I know there are parts of Cleveland in the city where that is going to change. But again, just comparing the downtown section compared to downtown Seattle, again, it's so clean. You see police cruising around everywhere, like not bothering anybody. You just see police presence. And that makes a difference. I guess people here respect authority and like their cops. And I just haven't seen anything that I was like, ooh, I wouldn't go be over there. Which is, again, that is different than how I felt. Because again, I'm a big dude. Like I'm 6'3". I'm a big, scary white guy. I look like a gangbanger or whatever. Basically, I look like a Aryan Brotherhood dude, honestly. You know, but I won't say never, but I rarely get the feeling of if I'm going around shopping somewhere, if I'm just walking around by myself, I can't remember the last time I ever felt like, let me look down this street. I'm like, you know what? I'm in a neighborhood I probably shouldn't be in. Although I say that I was living in that for the last 3 years right off of MLK Street. So I don't know, I guess when you're living in it, you just kind of like, I've never been bothered by it. But there is still that not the knowing that there are threats out there. And no matter how big of a son of a bitch you are or whatever, there's always somebody out there who can whoop your ass. And especially in numbers, you're never going to win a fight in numbers. So I always think shit like that. And that's part of that law enforcement brain that I don't think ever goes away. But just being aware of your surroundings and like possible threats and means of escape and stuff if shit goes down. Because I love that mentality that people think like, well, whatever, you got training, you just freaking, if you're carrying your pistol, just John Wick that shit. Like, all right, it's not, life isn't Call of Duty. That's not how shit works. If they have numbers, you're probably gonna die. Because you think, oh, just because you have a pistol, they don't. And I don't care if you're that good. Again, it's just one of those things, we can nitpick that all day, that, you know, you're not gonna win every firefight. And so that knowing where to retreat and get to a safer place to rethink your next plan of action, that's always an important thing. And I haven't really got that feeling yet. So I know this is turning out to be a little bit long of a video, but I haven't got to do these in a while. And also my future plans for this. So I know my YouTube channel is just fucking random because that's my brain. Like if I could make nothing but video game videos, I would probably do okay with that because I've got the hardware and set up to do that. It's just problem is like when I play the games, I just want to play the game. I don't want to fucking think about, oh, I need to record this and make sure it's this and then take that, you know, there's work to that. And that's the thing, I'm playing the games to have fun. I don't want to have to make that a sort of a job thing where I have to put the, you know, and that's why I do what I do. I'm employed and I make my money outside of YouTube and shit. So I make the YouTube content when it's just whatever the fuck I want to make. And I don't care if it does well or it doesn't, because the money I get from YouTube makes almost no difference. Like honestly, the money I make from online shit pays for like my internet bill. That's how little I make. So again, it's like if the videos do well or they don't, I could give a shit. I make the videos and I talk like this because I enjoy doing it. It's kind of like my little therapy. I get the thoughts out of my head, let you fuckers hear it. And whether you like it or not, I don't give a shit. It's what I like to do. And I'm gonna keep doing that. And that's another reason why I got the place with the space that I did. It's bigger than I need, but I wanted a big ass game room with a lot of space. Cause again, like, and I got my camera, like I could put that camera another 8 feet back and get this whole room. Like I have plenty of space to do shit and record, and that's what I wanted. Same thing, I've got a 2-car garage, which is plenty it's 20 by 20, but my freaking Tundra is like 9 inches too tall or too long to fit in there, even though I got a short bed. Freaking, they made these Tundras so like the 2023, that generation of Tundra is so fucking big. Love it to death. It's my favorite truck I've ever had, but it's so freaking big. It is just too big for that kind of a garage. So now I've got this 2-car garage with way more space than I originally planned for. And I'm like, I don't know, like I've never done vehicle stuff. Like that's a thing. Like I like, and the videos that I have on my channel that have done well are always like hey, here's how you fix a thing, or here's how you do something to a vehicle or a part of it, something. And I'm like, okay, I like making that content and I can narrate that pretty well. So it's like, there's a few little projects on my truck I wouldn't mind doing. And yeah, there's a few videos I could make in that garage because I got the space and stuff to record and do that kind of a shit now. And I haven't had that for years. So now that's another avenue of having that space to record and do stuff in. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say projects, but there's ideas that I have that I wouldn't mind putting into place. It's just whenever I get the time and the money to throw some of this shit together and then hook up all the GoPros to get the angles and stuff. So that's kind of what I have sort of planned for the future. And again, I don't know what I want to do yet here in Ohio. Like for whatever reason, I hop on Tinder and all the dating apps, and like every girl out here apparently loves the outdoors, hiking and nature, and fucking sunshine is my blah, blah, blah astrology shit. And which is ironic because that's how Seattle is. Like apparently every girl just wants to go hiking 24/7. And then ironically, like you meet up with some of these girls and you're like, cool, let's go hiking tomorrow. And then let's do another hike the next day. And they're like, oof, yeah, can we do like not that instead? Like, oh, I'd just rather drive somewhere. And so it's kind of funny when I see all these people that are like, oh, so gay for the outdoors. I'm like, are you though? So I might do some recording and some photography shit. I gotta find whatever little hikes are at, because there's no fucking mountains. That's the other crazy part. Like, I'm thankfully Seattle area, tons of mountains and really awesome, difficult hikes to go on. No matter how good of in shape you are, there's some hikes out there that'll kick your ass. And that's what I'm used to. And now coming out here where this shit's flat. So in my mind, I'm like, this isn't really hiking. You guys are just walking trail, like you're just walking through the woods for a few hours. And if there's no, and that's the part that's blowing my mind, like there's no elevation. So I guess in that way, I'm like, well, I guess if you're just walking through the fucking woods all the time and you call that hiking, yeah, I guess that'd be easy, because you're not really, like you're not even breaking, like you're just walking, you're not breaking a sweat. There's no fucking elevation. Like, how is that difficult? So that's another thing I got to used to with what these people call hiking out here. And I'm like, okay, you want to just go walk through the fucking woods for a few hours, call that a hike, I guess. Big one is I got to find some places. Like I brought my mountain bike, which again, got a mountain bike that can handle mountains in Washington. And now I'm out here, I'm like, this stuff is pretty flat. My bike's kind of overkill for that. But hey, whatever, I've got it. So I've got to do that some. And hey, maybe I won't fall as much on those, even though I know you guys all liked my fat kid falling off a bike videos, which were fucking funny. I still watch them from time to time and get a chuckle. So we'll see. Other than that, guys, that's kind of it. I really just wanted this, and this whole video didn't have a point. This was me just wanting to give a catch-up situation to what's been going on. Because there are a few you guys, again, I don't have a lot of followers, but there's a couple people who've reached out on Discord and stuff and be like, hey man, like, you haven't really been doing content for a while. And again, the last 2 years of my mental state with my job situation it's been the worst 2 years I can think of my adult life. Like, going through my divorce was 10 times less stressful than the last 2 years of being stuck in a fucking job that you hated, in a place you hate, with people you hate. And I just, I got off of work and I don't want to I'm just pissed. I'm miserable and upset and pissed off all the time. And I don't want to make content because, when you're in a shitty mood, it's like, I can't be myself and have fun and entertain. Because it is, even me just sitting here talking, like, I enjoy this. Even if not one person watches this video, I'm happy to just record this and throw it on fucking YouTube, and I'm happy. That made me happy to spend an hour doing this. And that's it. I do this for me. And if people enjoy it, that's awesome. But when I'm just so pissed off, I'm like, I don't even want to sit here and I honestly did. There's a lot of videos I did in the last 2 years, probably about 24, that I would record them like 2-hour-long rants, and I'd go back and rewatch it, and I'm like, what a miserable fuck I am. And it was just angry, shitty, just like, this is like therapist kind of stuff, and I'm like, this is not the me, this is not who I normally am, and this is not who I want to portray myself as. I don't want to share this shitty side of me with people like that, And so I did. I would record these videos and then rewatch them and then just delete it. Like, no, I don't want to put that out for the world. So hopefully that's all going to change. I'm in a much better state of mind, physically, mentally. Everything is just better now. Everything is better. And hopefully that's going to affect content and the things to come, and we'll see. So there's a few more. Now that I've got my place set up, I need to work on the lighting in here a little bit, because it's not, my one little link, it's just, this isn't good enough for recording, I think. So I got to get some ceiling lights rigged up here for a bit more conducive recording. And same thing in the garage. It's a shitty little light bulb, so I got to get some brighter lights out there because the GoPros are not too great in the lower light. So once I get the place finalized and set up, and hopefully by the new year, that's my goal. By January 1st, I want to have my place completely furnished, settled in, and ready to record whatever the fuck I want to record. So that's the plan. That's it, guys. I know this was a little long. Whatever. Don't care if you're watching or not. This is just my life, and I'm happy now. Good place. Could not be happier. And I'm looking forward to making some more content for you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. And if you don't, I don't give a fuck. Like, subscribe, do whatever the fuck you want. Take it easy.